Physics Part 432. We've got section questions and a figure shows the variation with time of an analog signal. The analog signal is to be sampled at a rate of 1.0 kilohertz and converted into 4-bit digital numbers. After digital transmission, the analog signal is to be recovered using DIC. Draw a diagram similar to those in the figure to show A. Sample of voltages in analog form. B. The sample voltages in digital form. C. The recovered analog signals. Chapter 16.3 Channels of Communication. At the end of this section, you should be able to appreciate that information may be carried by a number of different channels, including wire pairs, coaxial cables, radio and microwave links, and optic fibers. You should be able to discuss the relative advantages and disadvantages of channels of communication in terms of available bandwidth, noise, cross-linking, security, signal attenuation, repeaters and regeneration, cost and convenience. You should be able to recall the frequencies and wavelengths used in different channels of communication. You should be able to understand and use signal attenuation expressed in dB and dB per unit length. You should be able to recall and use the expression number of dB, which is equal to 10 Ig P1 over P2 for the ratio of two parts. You should be able to describe the use of satellites in communication. You should be able to recall the relative merits of both geostationary and popular orbiting satellites for communicating information. You should be able to recall the relative merits of both geostationary and polar orbiting satellites for communication information. In the previous section, the conversion of signals between digital and analogs was considered. Between conversions, the signals has to be transferred from one place to another. This may be achieved in various ways using different channels of communications, including wire pairs, coaxial cables, radio and microwave links, and optic fibers. Wire pairs. Wire pairs provide a very simple link between a transmitter of information and the receiver. In the early days of electrical communication using Morse code, the transmitter and receiver were connected directly to one another by means of two copper wires, or one copper wire and the other earth return. In modern communication system, wire pairs are used mainly for the short distance communication at relatively low frequencies. For example, linking telephones to the nearest exchange. In the simplest of applications, they are used for linking a doorbell in a house to the switch outside the door. High frequency electrical signals lose their energy over the short distance in wire pairs. The signals have a high attenuation. The high attenuation is partly due to the heating caused by the electrical resistance of the wire and partly due to the emission of the radiation radio waves. Since the wires act as aerials, a signal going any distance in a wire pair must be amplified at regular intervals along the length of the wires. A further problem is that since the wires act as aerials, They pick up any electromagnetic waves, and these unwanted signals or noise will cause deterioration of the signal. Wire pairs close to one another and will pick up each